So, like I said, this is going to be a review from what we did last year when we talked about economics. Remember that economics? Okay, this is going to be important because the next couple topics I'm going to talk about this week is going to build on this one. So I want you to remember this one first and the importance of this one first. And we're going to watch a short video in a second. Okay, but let's first review. Remember when we talked about last year in economics, there are 4 ways of spending money. Do you guys remember what it was? Right. Okay. So here, let's say this is you, this is you, this is others, and this is others. Okay, so you're right, Alex. The first one is you can spend your money on you. Okay? And when you spend your money on you, you work for the money, you value it, so you spend it wisely. You buy yourself nice things, but you're also cautious about the price. You don't want to waste the money, right? The other way is you spend your money on others. That's taking others out to dinner, dates, whatever, or lunches, or just buying gifts for other people. Again, when you spend your money on others, you want to get them nice stuff, you want them to be happy, but you're cautious not to waste your own money, correct? Then there is spending other people's money on yourself. This is like when you work for a business and they give you a business expense account. They say, here's your business expense credit card. You can take clients out to dinner, for drinks. This is going to pay for your gas. So you're spending basically other people's money, the boss's money, on you. So in that case, you don't really care what you're spending. You're going to get yourself nice meals. You're going to fill your tank with gas. You're going to buy your clients nice drinks and dinners and entertainment because you want to sell the customer or sell the client. So you're not that careful about how much you're going to spend because it's not your money, but you're also not going to waste it because you don't want to get fired, right? But you're going to spend it wisely because you're going to spend it on stuff that you need to impress the clients. Now, this is the bad one we talked about last year. This is the one that always leads to corruption, and we'll show you in a while. That's spending other people's money on others. When you spend other people's money on others, this is what leads to corruption. Because when you spend other people's money on others, you don't care because you're not getting the money. You're not getting the benefits of it. You don't care the quality. You don't care if it's good. You don't even care if they get it because you're just there to spend the money. And with them, you don't care how much they spent. This is the dangerous one, and we're going to talk about this one in a minute, okay? So we're going to watch a real quick video. It's only like 2 minutes long that's going to talk about this. It's a guy named Milton Friedman. He's a very famous economist that they used to teach in college about economics. So I want you to watch this video real quick. It just says what we just said.
Well, you can spend your own money on yourself. And when you spend your own money on yourself, you're very careful of what you spend it on, and you make sure that you get the most for your dollar. You can spend your own money on somebody else. You give gifts to other people. You take people out to dinner. And when you spend your own money on somebody else, you're very careful that you don't spend too much. You try to keep down the amount you spend. But you don't worry very much about what the other fellow's getting from it. You don't pay anything like as much attention to the gifts you buy for other people as to the things you buy for yourself. Or you can spend somebody else's money, as when you're spending the government's money. I say the government's money, the taxpayers' money, which the government has control over. Now you're spending somebody else's money. Let's say you're spending your boss's money. You're out to lunch on a expense account, but you're spending it on yourself. You're very careful that you get good things for your money. You try to have a good lunch and pick the right things, but you're not very much worried about whether you get the cheapest.
Spend all you want.
Spend all you want. You'll be careless. Now, what happens when you spend somebody else's money on somebody else? You're a distributor of welfare funds. Well, you're interested in making your own life as good as you can, And most people have humane instincts and want to do the best they can, but you're not going to be anything like as careful in spending somebody else's money on somebody else. So there are four ways in which you can spend money. And we have in our book Free to Choose a little box which shows this. On one side of that box is your money, somebody else's money. On the other side of that top part of that box are two columns, on yourself or on somebody else. And that corner box where you spend money on yourself is when you really get your money's worth. And the rest, the worst of all, is the right-hand box, when you spend somebody else's money on somebody else.
And that explains the schools today.
That explains the schools today. You're right. All so-called public schools, government schools, people are spending somebody else's money on somebody else. The teacher isn't spending his own money on the children. He's spending the taxpayers' money on the children. And that goes throughout the system, absolutely.
Okay, so now for the rest of the talk today, what we're going to talk about is only this part, okay? Because this is the part that leads to the massive corruption in the world, okay? When you're spending other people's money on other people. Like in the video, they mentioned schools. There's a lot of other examples too. But like they're talking about the schools, is when the school spends the money, what they're doing is they're spending the government's money, so other people's money, the taxpayers' money, and they're spending it on the students. So in the schools, you're spending other people's money on the students. Okay? So when the schools, the administrators, whoever's in charge of the schools, the government, is spending the tax money on students, they basically don't care how much they spent at all, and they really don't care what the kids get in return. This is the problem. This is what this leads to the corruption. This is education. This could be also healthcare. This could be the streets and the highways. This could be just about anything in the government. What we're going to go over in a second. Okay? When you're spending also the government's money on healthcare, you don't care how much you spent, and you don't care if the people are getting good healthcare. It's just spend the money. Now, let's talk about this a little bit further. Now, we're going to go into this a little bit further. So this is all we're going to talk about, is spending other people's money on other people, okay? So let's erase this for a second. Now, when you're spending others' money on others, okay? When you're spending other people's money, especially in the government, this leads to corruption. Why does it lead to corruption? Because you're talking about a lot of money. Say, for example, I think it's more than this, but let's just say, for example, if our government in the United States, this is the USA government, I think each year they're in charge of $1 trillion. $5 trillion in money. They're in charge of that. So imagine like it's this monster pile of money. Imagine this is just monster pile of money. And the government's job is to spend that pile of money. They don't care what it's spent on. They don't care if the person they're spending the money on gets anything out of it. Your job is just spend it. Why does this lead to corruption now? Do you remember from when we talked about economics? Do you remember, Alex? Okay, remember? We talked about one example where if you had the White House and say there was a fence out in front of the White House that had a hole in it. Okay? Let's just say this is a fence. Okay? And this is front of the White House. So there's a big hole in it. And you hired, we did this one joke before, remember this? You hired 3 contractors. Contractor is someone who comes out and gives you an estimate of what they would charge you to fix that. Your first contractor comes out from Washington, says, oh, I could fix that fence. Well, first he comes out and he measures here, measures there, calculates supplies and what he needs and how much labor is going to cost him. And he says, you know what? I can do it for $5,000, $5,000. I'm going to need like $25,000 or $3,000 in materials, and I'm going to need $2,000 in labor. That's your first contractor. Second contractor comes out, measures it, calculates supplies, says I can do it for $7,000. I'm going to need $4,000 in supplies and $3,000 in labor. Whoops, that's $30,000 in labor. Labor is work to fix it. So supplies, the materials for the fence, and labor, the ability to work and fix it. Your third contractor comes out and says, I can do that for $1 million and $5,000. Doesn't even measure, doesn't even calculate, doesn't do anything. I can do it for $1,500,000. The government says, or whoever's in charge, say it's a congressman is in charge. A congressman has to hire one of these 3 guys to do it. He asks this guy, where'd you come up with that amount of money? The contractor says, oops, I did this wrong. It's 500. 5,000. So the congressman asks him, this guy is charging 5,000, this guy's charging 7,000. Where do you get $1,005,000 in your estimate? You didn't even measure, you didn't even take calculations, nothing. The contractor tells the congressman, 500,000 for you, 500,000 for me, and we're going to hire this guy to do it. Again, they don't care how much they spent. They don't care if it's a good job. The problem is with this spending other people's money on others, there's a huge pile of $5 trillion, and everybody who is a triangle evil person is looking at scams to get that money. I can't spend it on me, but I can give it to anybody, and it doesn't matter how much I give them, and it doesn't matter if the quality is good, but in order to get this money out of this pile, I have to spend it and give it to other people. So they work out scams like this. In this way, the congressman gets something out of it. Here's another example. Okay? Here, this is $5,000 in fake money, right? It's the fake money. It's $5,000, okay? What if I work for the government? The government says, I'm giving you $5,000. You can't keep it. You have to hire somebody to build a new website for this event we're having. You got to build $5,000. You got to hire somebody to build this website we're doing for an event. So what do? I go to people and say, I got $5,000. I want you to build a website. And the person goes, yeah, I can do it for $5,000. I can do it for $5,000. Another guy goes, I can do it for $5,000. The congressman can go to the person and say, I got a deal for you. I want some of this money, but technically I can't take it. So I'm going to make a deal with you because I know you're a triangle person. I know you. You're in my triangle secret club. We got the secret handshake and we're buddies, right? So I got a deal for you. You give me a contract saying you're going to take the $5,000 and you're going to build the website for us. Okay? I'm going to give you the $5,000, but once I give it to you, you're going to give me back half right now. So you give me half back. So now you got 2,500, I got 2,500. This is my money for free. I put this in my pocket. The government doesn't know about it because I didn't spend it. He gave it to me, right? And do I care if he ever does the website? I don't care if he ever does the website. A month from now, I can come to him and says, where's the website? He's going to give me excuses. Oh, it wasn't enough. We needed another $10,000. We needed another $20,000. It was much more involved than we thought. The project didn't work. We didn't finish it. And then I can go to the government and I can say, I'm going to need another pile of money, another $10,000, because he doesn't have enough to finish it. What do you think I'm going to do with that other pile of $10,000? Go to him and say, revise the contract. Here's $10,000. Give me half back. 5 for you, 5 for me. And again and again and again, excuse after excuse after excuse, why it never got done. Does that make sense? Here's a couple examples that happened in real life. These are real recently. I don't know if you guys remember this. California was supposed to build a high-speed rail train that was supposed to go from Los Angeles to San Francisco. The train was supposed to go like 300 miles an hour. It was supposed to be like the trains in Japan and China, where they get there really fast for business people, right? The project began, I believe, 5 years ago. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, was in charge. He made his wife in charge of it, so he got the money for it, gave it to his wife, and his wife was supposed to be in charge of it. So about 5 years ago, they had plans of doing it. Plans weren't written up. It was just this plan in the air, like, oh, let's do this high-speed train from Los Angeles to San Francisco. So we're going to need, I think it was $3 billion to get started. The $3 billion would make the plans for doing it, buy the land, and start preparations. And the whole project was supposed to cost $3 billion from start to completion, from plans to design to purchasing land to finishing the tracks, right? 5 years later, we're at not one thing was done. No plans were designed, no plans for the trains, no land was purchased, not one piece of track was laid, not one thing was done for it. What do you think happened to all the money? They stole it, or they say they spent it. And what they also did, so that was $3 billion. $3 billion in 5 years. Not one track, not one plan, not one nothing. What did they do with all this? They got a bunch of crooked contractors that made promises, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, but no stipulation in the contract is a punishment. What a punishment is in a contract, if I give you $1 billion to build the railroad and you don't do a certain amount of things in a certain time frame, I can sue you for that money back or triple it back because you didn't fulfill the contract. But if the contract doesn't have a punishment, you're allowed to just steal it willy-nilly and not have any consequences. So what do you think all the contracts had? No punishments. What happened is the same thing like in all government. Give me a contract. I'm not going to put any punishments in there. You make certain vague promises. I'm going to give you $1 billion. You're going to give me back $500 million in my bank account in the Switzerland or in the Cayman Islands or in Ukraine. So I'm going to give you $1 billion. You keep half of it, which is $500 million. You put $500 million in my account over here, and I don't care what you do. So 3 years later, $3 billion spent, nothing was done on the railway. But here's the thing. Recently, I think it was last week, no, it was July 25, California, the governor and the businessman there said, that $3 billion wasn't enough. We need more money. They are now asking for between $28 and $35 billion more money to finish it. And they're saying that the project will be done in approximately 2035. 2035, that's 10 years from now. The reason they spread it out so long is because 10 years from now, everybody's going to forget about it. Everybody who was watching it, everybody who's in charge is going to forget about it. The money's going to be spent, it's going to be gone, nothing's going to be done. But in 5 years, $3 billion, nothing was done. In a normal society or in a normal business, if someone took $3 billion of your money and didn't do anything that's showable, visible, and then they came back to you 5 years later and said, oh, we need more money, we need now $30 billion. Do you trust them? A normal person would say, you're a liar, I don't trust you. You should go to jail for the money you already stole. But an evil person, all right, 30 billion, I'll give you the 30 billion because it's the government's money and all I do, my job is to just spend it. So I'm going to sign the check from the government's money. Again, who is the government? Who's in charge of the country, Yana? Who's the boss in the US? Remember? The people. So even though we're saying government, it's not the government's money. It's the people's money. The people pay their taxes to make this pile of money. The government is supposed to spend it wisely, but they don't. Because all they're looking for is their piece of that pile of money and what corruption, what's crooked thing they can do to take it. So $3 billion is already spent. Nothing has been done. Money has been siphoned. Money in my pocket, your pocket, all these crooked people got their money. We need another $30 billion. What's going to happen? $15 billion to the contractor with a vague contract on vague timelines and vague things what they have to do. $15 billion to the crooked politicians who made the deal. And what's going to happen in another 10 years? Absolutely nothing. Make sense? Here's another example. When Kamala Harris was vice president of the United States, she was put in charge. She said, when she was, I forgot if she was the vice president. I think she was vice president at this time. Or it might have been even before she was vice president when she was in charge of California. I think she was a senator of California. Yeah, when she was a senator of California. Kamala Harris was given a task because they were claiming, and this is true, in California, California's got all these big cities, Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, but they have, you remember how we used to go to the tournaments in California? All that road was just farm. Remember that? So the coastline is all cities, but once you get away from the coast, the rest of California, like 90% of California is farms. She was claiming that, and this is true again, that the farms didn't have internet, or at least good internet. So she had a project or a plan to bring internet to the farmers, to the rural community, the farmers, so they can have internet, so they could come into the modern life, a modern business, and use the internet for their businesses. So she was tasked with getting internet to the rural areas in all of California. She was in charge of 25. Let's erase this. She was in charge of 25 billion. Billion with a B, not a T, not a M, not million. 25 billion to get internet to the rural areas and the farms of California. 5 years later, what happened? How many people were hooked up to the internet? Zero. Not one bit of cable, not one satellite, not one piece of wire, nothing was spent. What happened to the 25 billion? What happened? Stolen. They stole it. They gave some to this person, this contractor, some to this person, some to this person, and eventually some of it went into their bank accounts. Spending other people's money on others. I don't care if they ever get any service as long as I get some in my pocket. I don't care what's produced. I don't care what they get, as long as I can dip into the pile of money and put some in my pocket. Does that make sense? So 5 years later, 25 billion is gone. Zero internet is made. What do you think they're doing now? In the last year of Joe Biden's presidency and Kamala Harris's presidency, they said that wasn't enough money. Then they asked towards the end there, they asked for another $90 billion because they said it wasn't enough. Mind you, 25 billion was spent and nothing. It's not that they said, hey, we got all this cable put down, we got all these satellites put up. No, 25 billion, nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. And then they come to you and say, I need another 90 billion. If you took 25 billion and couldn't show anything, what are you going to do with 90 billion? What are you going to do with a trillion? What are you going to do with 10 trillion? Nothing. It's just stealing it. That make sense? So this is the problem with spending other people's money on other people. It's an economic disaster, especially when it involves the government. Okay? Now, what we're going to talk about in the next couple of days is going to build on this, because this just leads to corruption and bad things. But I just wanted you to remember this so when we talk about more stuff tomorrow. Okay? Got any questions so far?
No.
9:30. Yeah, that's a pretty good place to end. Tomorrow we'll go into something else.